guys, how's it going? It has been so long since I have made a video. It feels like probably about a month and a half or so. Part of the reason of that is because everything outside in the garden is completely frozen and I just didn't have a whole lot to show you guys. But today I thought it would be fun to answer some commonly asked questions that I have on my hydroponic grow systems that I've showed you guys, and do a little bit of an update on this system that's right beside me. And I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room, the fact that the name has changed. Yes, it is me, the mythical mom, but we have changed our name to EverCrest. So there's like a whole backstory or whatever that I won't bore you guys with, but it is still me. We just made a name change and I just wanted to let you guys know that. So before we get into some of the most commonly asked questions, I wanted to give you guys a quick update on this system right here. Now, if you guys are new to my channel, I do videos on gardening and indoor gardening, DIY projects, home cooking sometimes. I do a lot more like home cooking and DIY projects over on my Instagram account, evercrest.co. If you guys want to follow me there, I share a lot more of that kind of stuff because I kind of share it in real time. So if you guys are interested in that, go ahead and follow me over there. But if you guys are interested in gardening projects and DIY projects, consider subscribing here. We'd love to have you a part of our little community. So, update on this guy right here. This is the 10-pod iDOO system. Let me move this stuff out of the way real quick so you guys can see this a little better. Actually, there we go. Now you can see. I turned the light off. I have 3 tomato plants growing in this system right now. And you can actually see right here, those are some little green tomatoes. I have a group growing right here and a group growing over here, which you guys can't really see because of all the lights. I also have a whole bunch up top that's out of the frame of the camera right now that are starting to bud and grow. Now this tomato plant is the Good-Hearted tomato from Proven Winners. Let me back this up so you guys can see the top of this thing. Okay, you can almost see the top. You can almost see the top. So this Good-Hearted tomato, the reason that I chose it is because it's supposed to max out at like 18 inches or something like that. But clearly this Good-Hearted tomato is loving its life and it has far exceeded the 18-inch parameters that it was supposed to stay in. Because of that, it's getting really big for this system, but it's still producing tomatoes and doing really well. The basil that I put in here, I have one measly little basil plant left. It's back here. It looks pretty terrible. A few of the other things, the lettuce I have harvested out of this and it kind of got straggly after harvesting it for a while. So I went ahead and pulled that out. And so I mostly just have the tomatoes left. I'm hoping that this basil back here picks up a little bit. Okay, diving into the questions here. The first question I get quite a bit, and it is which grow system is my favorite? Now, I have reviewed quite a few systems so far. I've reviewed the iDOO 7-pod, which was red. I reviewed the 12-pod. This iDOO, which is the 10-pod, and then I reviewed a grow system called a QYO. I'm actually reviewing a new system tomorrow that you guys will see next week that is called Tote Box. That's a new system I'm going to be trying out. So you guys can keep a lookout for that new system. But so far, what I would say and what I mostly comment back on to people's posts when they ask me is that this system right here, the iDOO 10-pod system that I have sitting right beside me, the iDOO 7-pod system, which was the first system that I ever reviewed, the red one, and the QYO are all really great. I love all of those systems. This one right here is probably my favorite so far. The reason that I like those 3 systems more than, say, the iDOO 12-pod is simply because of this right here, this reservoir right here. So the reservoirs on this 10 pod and the 7 pod iDOOs are much deeper than the 12 pod iDOO. The QYO, same thing. It has a very nice deep reservoir, and they also come with nice long soil sponges. Now this is the longest one I've ever found, and I think that might be the reason that I like it the most. It seems to me that the deeper the water reservoir and the bigger the soil sponge is for root growth, does much better than, say, the more shallow kinds. With the shallow 12 pod iDOO, I had a lot of problems with things just not wanting to grow. They would mold, they would come up, they would die. I had a lot of fungus issues, which I will show you in this one. I have some fungus issues right now, and I'll show you what I do to take care of that. So that's what I would say. My favorites are the ones that have a nice deep reservoir. Now there's quite a few systems on the market that have the nice deep reservoir, and actually iDOO came out with a 12 pod system that is a different model, and it is a really deep reservoir water too. That one would probably work much better than the 12 pod that I reviewed. So all that to be said, this 10 pod right here is my favorite, and I will link it in the description below for you guys. So far, it's the one that has grown things the most and done the best for me. Okay, another question that I get commonly is, where do I buy my seeds? I also had a question that someone asked is, do some of these systems come with seeds? And the answer is no. I have not had a hydroponic system like this yet that comes with seeds, but seeds are pretty easy to get a hold of most of the time. I know we kind of went through Crazyville the last few years, but most of the time you can find seeds even at your local grocery store, like Walmart, Sam's Club. A lot of times they will sell seeds. Personally, for me though, I like to buy my seeds from a place called Eden Brothers, and I will link them in the description below. Another great seed place is called Johnny Seeds. Let me think. I can't remember. Oh, Baker Creek is another great place to get seeds from. But for me personally, I usually buy all my seeds from Eden Brothers or pick it up from a store whenever I'm out and I see a variety or something that intrigues me. Okay, let's see what the next question is here. How often do you add nutrients? So this is something too that I will give you the recommended answer, I guess, the correct answer, and then I'll tell you what I do. So the correct answer is that every time you put water into your system, you should be adding the nutrients back into it. So say you need to fill 2 liters of water, put 2 liters of water back into your system, you would mix up the appropriate amount of water and nutrients and fill your system back up. So the correct answer is, how often do you add nutrients? Every time you put water in it. Now, my answer, and if I'm being honest, is, do I put nutrients in it every time I fill it with water? No, I don't. And the reason for that is because sometimes my system might only need a little bit of water, or maybe I'm in a hurry, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes I do just put straight water into my system. I try to then, the next time that I put water in, make sure that I use the nutrients, because the thing is that those nutrients that you're putting in the water is the only nutrients these plants are getting. Think about it. They're not in the soil. They're not getting any like decomposing stuff, nothing from worms, no nutrition outside of what you are putting in that water. So you want to be as consistent with it as possible, but that doesn't mean, at least for me personally, that I have to make sure that I put it in every single time, just as much as you can. Another great question that I get asked a lot is, can I use these systems for seed starting? And my answer is yes, you can. So I actually used one of my systems last year. I had one system sitting on my counter that I was growing lettuce and things in, and then another system I used to start tomato plants in. And it did a wonderful job. I started some, I believe they were big boy red tomatoes, something like that. And I simply planted them as I normally would in my grow system. And then when it came time to transfer them, I simply just pulled them out of my system and carefully pulled the sponge out of the plastic basket. So when you are removing your soil sponges from those plastic baskets, I've seen some people say that they've cut the baskets to be able to remove the soil sponges, and I generally find that that's not necessary. You can usually kind of just gently wiggle the basket off of the soil sponge. You will inevitably knock off some of the roots, break some of the roots, but I find that these plants have such an extensive root system, it doesn't matter. They don't skip a beat. It didn't even shock my tomato plants. I simply took them, removed the baskets carefully, and then planted them actually into little pots, and then in a few weeks I planted them out in my garden. It worked wonderfully, so the answer is yes, you can use these to start seeds. Next question says, how do I change the light timer? So this is referring to the light up here on your system. Your light will run, depending on what mode you have it on or what system you have, for 14 to 16 hours, and then it goes through an off cycle. And I forget how long it's off for. I think it's like 8 hours, something like that. It might be 4. No, it has to be 8. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But essentially, your light system runs its own cycle based on either a 14 or a 16-hour light on cycle. So if you want your grow light to run during the day, you're going to want to get up in the morning and turn your system on right away. That way your system comes on in the morning and shuts off sometime in the evening or at night. If you notice that the cycle of your light system is not when you want it to be running, you can simply turn the light system off and then turn it back on when you want it to be running. So like if I'm noticing that the cycle of my system has started kicking on in the middle of the day instead of the beginning of the day where I'd like it to be, I will go ahead and either, depending on what system you have, either just turn it off with a power button, or some systems you have to unplug them. Once you unplug them or turn them off, you can then plug them back in or turn them back on, and that will reset the cycle. So it's pretty much hands off, but if you do start to notice that the cycle is not when you want it to be running, just reset it, simply turn it off and turn it back on when you would like it to start running again. Okay, this last question that I have is actually specific to the 12-pod iDOO system. It is the one that has the shorter reservoir that we were talking about earlier that I said is not my favorite system. That system, because it has such a short reservoir, a lot of times the question is, why is the water not touching the soil sponges in my system? So that particular system has a very short reservoir, and then it has even tiny little soil sponges and soil baskets. And I find that there is just not enough water and not enough soil sponge to make the system work like the rest of them. So one thing you can try that I kind of fooled around with a little bit to remedy that problem if you did buy a 12-pod iDOO is simply buying soil sponges and baskets that are longer, which I actually found some soil sponges and baskets that will fit your 12-pod iDOO system and make it work so much better. So let me show you them here. I found these on Amazon and I will link them down below for you guys. This is not iDOO brand. This is a different brand. So let me get one of these out here. This is a new box. So here are the soil baskets and here are the soil sponges that fit down inside of there. And this fits inside your 12-pod iDOO system. And look how much bigger those are, how much longer they are than your traditional 12-pod baskets and soil sponges. Now, some of you may ask, is this too long? Is it going to reach touch the bottom and stick up? No, this is the perfect size. There is a little bit of space left at the bottom for the roots to come out of it, and it works really well. So if you guys do have a 12-pod iDOO system and you are struggling with yours not getting enough water, constantly running out, constantly having issues with mold and things like that because of the inconsistency of water level, go ahead and get some of these. These are going to help you out so much. I will link them down below. That way you guys can find them. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to mention here at the end of the video is not actually a question, but a comment that I see come up quite a lot. And it is a comment directed at when I am cleaning my iDOO systems or my QYO system. If you guys have watched any of my cleaning videos, you know that I end up having quite a bit of buildup on my systems from the hard water that we have here at my house. The comment that I see a lot is, why not just use distilled water? And so that is a great point. And I will say, full disclaimer, that the instructions of these systems actually suggest that you use or tell you to use distilled water in your system. And that is the best thing you could do for it. So if you want to, please use distilled water. That is the absolute best thing you can do. Personally, I have like this issue with buying water, and I know that might seem silly to some people, but I live out in the country. We have a huge artesian well. We have, which simply means our water never runs out. We have an abundance of water. Our property has springs that pop up on it all the time. And so I also have like this sophisticated water system, treatment system in my house with filters and all kinds of stuff. So we have like really great water. The only thing that isn't super great about our water is it's a hard water. It has a lot of calcium buildup in it. So simply personally for me, I have a hard time going out and buying water just for those reasons. I have great water at my disposal. Does that mean that I have to really clean my systems more than someone who uses distilled water? Yes. So that's kind of just why I don't use distilled water. I guess I wanted to explain myself a little bit. The best thing to do is use distilled water, and then yeah, you won't have the buildup like I get in my systems. Oh, there's one more thing that I wanted to share with you guys. I forgot. So I'm going to pull you in closer here to show you exactly what I am doing. But the last thing that I wanted to talk about, I know I already said that, but the very last thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that sometimes mold and mildew can grow on top of your soil sponges, types of funguses even as well. I don't know actually what all it is, but it's like fuzzy and sometimes orange and weird colors and stuff like that. I wanted to show you what I do with mine because I put out a video a few months back showing how to do like aluminum foil covers for the tops of these, which work really good. I've also showed you how to use like hydrogen peroxide to kill whatever is on the top of these, and those all work good if that's what the route you want to go. But I actually found kind of a more simpler way of doing it, and I don't know that it actually kills the mold or whatever is growing on there, but it gets rid of it enough that if you just kind of keep on top of it, it really doesn't become much of a problem. So let me show you what I'm doing now. Okay, so as you can see here, I have some gross things happening on the sponge at the base of this tomato. Also some gross things happening at the base of this poor, sad little basil plant. So what I like to do is simply take a rag, a damp rag, and I'll actually just gently wipe off the top of that sponge. Now, I don't even know what all is happening on the top of this sponge. It looks like some mold, it looks like some fungus, but I simply just wipe off anything gross, and it usually wipes right off. It's not much of a problem. Just like that. So that's all that I do. I just go ahead and gently wipe off the top of the sponges, and then it really doesn't seem to become a problem at all. It doesn't affect the growth of the plant. It keeps everything nice and clean. And like I said, I don't know that's necessarily killing what was growing on there, because eventually it grows back, but it eventually grows back with any of the methods that I showed you before. So this kind of just is a nicer, easier way, I almost feel like, to just deal with the problem, because it wipes right off and is clean again. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope me answering all of these questions could help you guys. And if you guys have any further questions, go ahead and ask me in the comments below. I'd love to answer them. I try to answer all of your questions, as many as I can get to anyway. And if I see a lot of the same question repeated, I like to do something like this, because it seems like then a lot of people have the same question and I can make a video about it to answer everyone at the same time. Well, I hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.